Now the second part is going to be what called the cell signaling. You get? We have seen what called endocrine system. We have seen the several glands that are contained in our body. We have seen some that are contained here, the thyroid gland. We have seen the thymus gland just within here, the chest region. We have seen what we call the parathyroid gland, that's behind this side. We have seen what we call some kind of the glands like the adrenal gland. We have seen what we call the pancreas. We have seen the sinus of Langan. We have seen what we call which other gland? We have seen what we call the testes and also the ovaries, that is in females and then males. There is something we have to look at, members, here, because our focus is how the signals, how these hormones here send the information. You get? Members, we said that these glands here, there's some recap here. These glands you're looking at here, if this is the gland, this is the gland. These glands, members, here, they have what to call certain type of cells there. They have categories of cells. These are called the cells in the glands. Now these cells here, they are different. You get? Basing on the function they do, basing on where are they going to send the information from. Remember, these cells here, they send this information here in the form of what called signals. But these signals here also reach these cells here coming from the environment. It means we have two major areas there. We have two areas here. We have two areas here. We have what called the external environment, or the external or extracellular signals. You get? We have what called the internal or the intracellular signals. Now, if this is my cell, the signals can come from outside here and then they come and enter what we call what? The cell here. That means after entering here, we shall see a lot of chemical reaction taking place, signaling. In other words, the cascade effects. We shall see what we call the cascade effects taking place. Cascade effects. When I talk about cascade effects, not to get lost, I mean the continuous stimulation of the other. For example, if I'm having my cell, I'm going to look at it here. I'm going to show it here. But if this is my cell, and then the hormone comes and binds here on this receptor here, it becomes activated. Now the activity on this receptor here is going to send signals inside and it goes on activating other proteins inside there. So we say they are happening continuously. One is affecting the other, and that one is also affecting the other. So say they are acting what we call the cascade effect. But now, these are what we call the biochemical reactions, not what biochemical functions. Let's look at this. What am I bringing this one here? I'm looking at a gland which has cells, but these are specialized in what? Different or specialized in what? Cells. Now, these cells here, what do they do? How do they work? How does a gland work? This is what normally happens. Now, the gland works what we call external signals molecules or external signaling molecules. What is a signaling? What is a cell signaling members? We can define it getting from what we call these external what? Signals. It means someone can say is a series of chemical reactions. Or can you say is a series of what we call the chemical reactions that work together, you get, to bring about what we call all together to control the cellular functions. Because this cell here wants to do certain functions, but there must be some kind of what we call chemical reactions to take place there. So as the cell can be able to do its what? Functions. You get? So cell signaling is a series of chemical reactions, you get, that work together to control cellular functions, you get, by activating a chain of biochemical what? the axons. So a lot of the chemical axons are going to be activated. So as the cell can do its function, what's the function now? What's that function? The function is very simple. This is what's going to happen. The function is trying to release the hormone. You get the point? But this hormone here, what's going to happen here? We shall have what called external stimuli. You get the point? The external signaling. Now, what is a signal can be in form of a chemical. It can be a chemical. It can be sound. It can be anything. So this chemical can come. It can be a pathogen or any bacteria or a virus. It is going to attach on this cell membrane here, where there's something very interesting here. It has bound here on this what called the pathogen has come and then bound onto what we call what? It is the pathogen is here, has bound here. After what's going to happen here? After binding here, this receptor, this protein receptor here, is going to become activated. You get? After becoming activated, what's going to happen here? We have what called the cell messengers here. You get? This one is the receptor. You have to know that. Receptor. This one is what we call what? The pathogen. You get? This is going to receive, the receptor is going to receive the pathogen here. After by what's going to happen here? We have what we call messenger. The messenger, remember, this pathogen here, these are like signals. You get? So these signals here, after reaching here, they are going to be transported through this, and then are going to be picked by what we call the messengers, the cell messengers. So these are the signals. Pick them, by what we call the cell messengers. Cell messengers are going to do what? Cell messenger. Pick the signals. After picking the signals, see what's going to happen now. We are looking at the ways of making this cell here give us the hormone. But before giving the hormone, it has to first be activated by the binding of the pathogen onto the what? The cell receptors. Now, the inside part, the intracellular part has been signified now. In other words, has received the signals up to the specific target. It could be this protein here. Let me say this is the protein which they wanted to be, which they were targeting. The protein inside. Now, when the last protein gets activated, remember what's going to happen here? The whole cell becomes activated. What's going to happen here? Now, this is going to come around the second part here. This cell is the same as this one here. It has now become fully activated. What is it going to use now? It is going to send a certain kind of what now? A certain kind of signals which are going to go onto this. Now this is what we call now the current cell. I can say the current cell. This one is going to be called now the target cell. Getting activated through these cellular biochemical reactions, it becomes activated. Then it is going to emit, give its what? Release the hormone. You get? The hormone is going to be released. After this, the hormone reaching here. This is the hormone reaching here. It is going to cause several cell functioning of this target organ here. If the hormone was increasing the rate of metabolism, it is going to increase the rate of metabolism here. You get? So it's what we call the cell signaling. You get? You signal the cell, then the cell gets activated, and then the cell releases its what? Hormone to go to the targeting organ. You get? Listen, members. However, we looked at this one here. We have what to call, we have seen one cell here, but we have several types of cells. As I said here, we have around 5 to 4 types of cells there. You get? All the signaling cells. Because as they are transporting, for example, as this is transporting this one here, Let me say the hormone. This could be the hormone or the chemical substance. You get? Or anything. It is the distance that it is going to cover determines a lot. You get? So the distance, so we're going based on the distance through which the hormone is going to take to get to the target organ. It is going to make us have several types of cells. These cells here are classified based on the distance that they take to reach the target organ. You get the point, members? Now, hence, we are having what we call around 5 types of what we call the signaling, types of the cell signalings. You get the point, members? That means you're going to look at now the types of what we call the cell signalings. You get? There's something here. It's what we call types of what we call the cell signaling, based on the distance that is traveled by the what? By the hormone to reach the target organ. You get the point, members? Let's look at them now very fast. Now, we have what we call the contact dependent. The contact dependent. Now, when the contact dependent members here, this is what we call now, this is the cell. What we call the target cell. In contact, the one the contact means that the cell itself, you get? The signaling is what we call a signaling cell. The signaling cell here, it is in close proximity with what we call the target cell. That means here, this signaling cell here, it is going to just have what we call certain kind of receptor here. Okay, it is going to discharge. It is going, let me just like this. It's just going to discharge its kind of signaling molecule, which is going to come and directly attach onto what we call what? Onto what we call the target cell. There is no any distance traveled. The cells are in close proximity. You got? The signaling cell sends its hormone to the target cell directly. The gap is so tiny, even it may not be there. This is what we call the distance. In other words, they are interconnected in such a way that the membrane is in a close contact. What we call the what? The membrane. Cell membrane, cell membrane. You get? They are in touch with each other. We want to call the paracrine. The second what we call the paracrine here. Remember, as a paracrine here, we have what we call, this is called now the target organ. The target organ. Now, this is what we call now the signaling cell. It is going to release what we call a given chemical substance here. This could be the hormone by endocytosis, and of course, now we are seeing this given molecule here. It is going to move into the target cell here, onto the receptor of the target cell here. Receptors are here, and then it enters inside, and then causes what we call intracellular signaling mechanism that are going to bring about a response. But we have we may see this to be a very big distance, but members, the distance from here to here is something very small, and therefore in most cases during the paracrine signaling pathway, here the molecules move faster. In other words, they move faster. That's one. Secondly, these molecules, what happens is that they move by diffusion. You get? That means the response here, the action is short-term only. Short-term only. They move faster, but they don't take a lot of, the response does not stay long. You get? It is faster. Hence called the paracrine signaling pathway. Let's go out to call now endocrine. In endocrine pathway here, members, we have what to call the chemical substance, which is going to be released in here. The chemical substance is going to move straight away into what we call the bloodstream. This is called the bloodstream. Or we can also call it called circulatory system. Circulatory system. After reaching here, of course, this molecule here, it is going to be moving, and it is going to get out of the bloodstream and goes and binds onto the specific target organ. This is called now the target organ. You have seen the distance is a bit long. It is slower, but it is long lasting. In other words, the action of the hormone can take long inside the body. You get? But whereas here, it is faster, but its action is slower in the body. You get the point, members? That means you're seeing here the bloodstream, this is the bloodstream, and then it gets into the what? The target organ. We have what to call now the autocline. Autocline, this is signaling pathway. This one, the word auto means self. Self. You get? Now, that means here, the cell itself, you get? The gland, the cell in the gland itself, it is going to learn to call a given chemical substance. But for releasing it, this chemical substance here has a tendency of all coming back and then attaching on one part of the cell membrane. You get? After attaching here now, it is going to cause several signaling mechanisms here, which are going to bring about a response of the cell. The response can be destroying the cell, which is called apoptosis, or the primary cell destruction. It can be the proliferation of the cell, in other words, making the cell become many, increasing the number of the cells. This is what happened in what called the cancer. The cell can release a chemical substance and it goes and binds on the same cell and makes to manufacture very many cells, abnormal cells. You get? That means the information has been sent in the same cell, hence called autocrine. The signals have been sent in the same cell, hence called what? Autocrine. You get? Then we have seen that the last one, what we call the synaptic signaling mechanism. You get? This one is mostly common to call the neurons, whereby the signals here have what we call a certain structure called the vesicles here. You have the vesicles here. Okay, you have the vesicles here. Have what we call certain kind of chemical substances here, the vesicles. What's going to happen is that, members, whenever this is what we call the presynaptic membrane, presynaptic membrane, or the presynaptic knob, this one here. This is called the postsynaptic what? Postsynaptic knob. Why are you looking at this one here, members? Now this, we know that if this is the neuron I'm having here, this is the neuron I'm having, this is has the cell body, which is called, this is what is called the dendrites, that come to join format to call the axon. Now, these are going to receive, they are receiving, this is what called the cell body. Receiving impulses. After receiving, then what's going to happen is that means receiving them, there is a connection between this from another neuron. Also another neuron connected there. Now this gap you are seeing here, which is connecting one neuron, one dendrite, and another dendrite from another neuron, is what you are seeing here, this space here. Yeah? So they can space in between the two that called the synaptic what? Cleft here. What's going to happen is these vesicles are going to move to the cell membrane here. After reaching, they're going to release the chemical substances. You get? Which are called the neurotransmitters. That are going to take, these neurotransmitters here are going to transpose the chemical substance up to this cell here. This one is for the ions. You get? If the signals are concerned with ions, it's going to be transported here. But if the signals are non-ionic chemical substances, are going to be transported what? Here. You get? Then when the signals reach here, they fire the impulse now, and therefore the information is going to be what? Transmitted, because this one is being what called the chemical code. In other words, the chemical transmission of the impulses, they move by electrical form. You get the point? They carry some ions flow inside here. You get? Then these ones are going to move towards this. Of course, after flowing, it becomes activated, actually potential increases, then causing this to move towards this the cell membrane, and then this is what we call this neurotransmitter, which is going to bind onto the receptors here, and then activating the receptor, making it to respond. This is called a synaptic cleft. You get? So those are the different mechanisms through which the signals are conveyed onto the target cells. You get? This is a target cell. 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 This one is here, target cell. This is a target cell. This one is also a target part of the cell. This is it now. That's what we call now types of the cell signaling. You get? A recap, a summary of what we have looked at briefly. We have seen what we call endocrinology. Endocrinology. We have said that this endocrinology here comes from three Greek words. The word endo means within. Then the crino means what we call separate. Then log means study of. You get? I mean the study of how the inner structures in our body give the chemical substances, or the study of the chemical substances which are given out. Then we define, say that this definition here, we give the definition here of endocrine system, that it is an integration of several organs that work together to give out to call the hormones that bring about to call response of the body. We saw the components. Before this, okay, the component of the endocrine system here. Before this, we said that the endocrine system here, we said that this endocrine system is not alone. It is consisting of what to call the exocrine, and then what to call what? Endocrine. This is the body system. How the body responds. Say by endocrine system, also by exocrine what? System. But today our focus was on endocrine what? System. Definition, you have seen it. The components, we talk about the component of the endocrine system here. Then we saw that one of the components that we looked at was how to call what? The glands. We saw the glands in the body. Some glands were working as organs in the body. We saw very many of them and where they are located and what they separate, the hormones separated. We saw also the organs in the body that give out to call what? The hormones. Then after saying that now, we went on and looked at to call, of course we saw the importance of the what? Importance of endocrine what? System. Of endocrinology. Then after seeing that now, we saw that glands have what to call cells. But these cells here, to release these hormones here, they receive signals which activate them. And then so we saw what to call the what? The cell signaling. How the cells in the glands are signaled or are made aware so as they can release those chemical substances. Then we saw the types of what? Types of cell signalings. Hello guys, those have been the biolectures of today. Members, make sure subscribe, like, and share so that you can see more of the biolectures. Once again, Dr. Gos Biolectures has been with you today's biolecture. Like, subscribe, share. Bye bye. Thank you.